Good morning, folks. Hope we're all well this morning. I have to say I'm a wee bit off this morning. But I've had a couple of paracetamol and we'll soldier on. Right, let's have a quick look, see who's in while people get on the board. Morning, Rosemary. We're there in Straven. Desiree Bincat up there in the Highlands. Morning, Ian McNeil. Good morning, Jamie Dodger. Morning, Chris Fisher. Morning, Stephen Nichol. Rosie McGregor. Chris Fisher's in the house. Viper Scott, good morning, Alistair. Graham Beanie. Lorna Shields. Margaret Hitchens. Chris Fisher. Alexandra Rutherford. Hi, Sandra. How are you? Hi, Anna. Hi, Scott Haynes. Regan Wheat's in the house. Hi, Linda. Martin the Hibby's in. Christina Mackey's in. Peter M's in. Morning, June. Morning, John. Right back down the way again. Numbers are climbing nicely. Give a wee minute more to get in. Morning, Kit Hood. Good morning, Rosalind Carrigan. Robert Fowler. Morning, Stephen Kelly. Okay, folks. Let's get this one underway, shall we? Indy Truck Davey out the truck now at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it's the 27th of the 1st, 2026. It's 3 degrees. It is a dark, dreek, dank morning. Even though it's dry at the moment, there is rain in the forecast. Today's high will be 4 degrees. Warming up overnight though, and to a warmer day tomorrow. Humidity's at 93%. And the wind, well, it's quite breezy out there, 26 mile an hour to 41 mile per hour, blowy. And sunset will be at 16:37 here in the village tonight. And there isn't any pollen counting this winter. So that's what the weather's like here in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look out your own bloody windy. All right, first up this morning, we have the Herald. So let's get the Herald up. And what does the Herald tell us? Reform eyes Holyrood with pledge of tax cuts for Scots. And Offord says no new indie ref for 10 years. Tax cuts, aye, okay. Which services are they going to cut? And as to an indie ref, no indie ref for 10 years, the people will decide. That's what fuck all today we offered. The people will decide. But tax cuts. Interesting thing about this, and we'll get to it in a minute. So down with the Herald and up with the Scotsman, which should be next. Here we go. It's my one of the mornings. It's going to be one of those mornings. For some reason, I don't seem to have the Scotsman. Oh, here it's here. The Scotsman. Reform vows to slash Scots tax in first Holyrood pledge. Do you know that's the same offer that's being made by the Conservatives here in Scotland? The Conservatives have pledged to slash taxes by £1 billion. But they refuse to tell us which services they're going to slash. And the same goes for Reform UK. But remember, in their councils, they promised to slash tax as well, cut costs. They didn't manage it. But which services will they hit first? Well, I'd imagine it would be the young and the elderly. They're not really part of the tax base, allegedly. Even though when they spend money, they pay tax. Anyway, I would imagine that the first thing to go would be the 12 to 22-year-olds free bus travel. And of course, they would up the age of the elderly getting their bus passes to 66 in line with England. The next thing I think they would do is reintroduce prescription fees, reintroduce charges on eye tests, and reintroduce dental fees. And then after that, I would imagine the child uplift would go, the baby boxes would go, peak rail fares would be reintroduced, and last but not least, they would introduce university tuition fees, dumbing down the population, and privatise the NHS. All for a couple of quid savings in your income tax. Sounds like a bad deal to me, kiddos. Sounds like a bad deal to me. So when you hear the Deformers or Tories 2.0 talking about, yay, tax cuts, ask them what services they want to get rid of. Okie dokie. But the interesting thing about these two papers this morning is these two are unionist rags, and they know that Labour and Tories are going to take a massacre in Scotland, and they're now throwing their weight behind the Form in the hope that the Form can stop the SNP. That's the question here. Thank you, Alistair. Right, after the Scotsman, we should have a Daily Fail, if it's where it's meant to be. Yep, a Daily Fail. Burnham rebellion growing. 50 Labour MPs sign letter to PM protesting against decision to block by-election move. Well, as Burnham has gied up and accepted being blocked, because I've seen him being interviewed just for the getting in the elevator at his mayoral office, where he said, I've got nothing further to say. 100% concentrated on my job as mayor. So I don't think it'll make any difference whether Labour MPs are unhappy or no. If Burnham's accepted it, he's accepted it. The story is now over. Right, after the field, we'll get the rancid, and the rancid has. Millionaire couple deserve jail. Barking mad. Fury as Scots worst puppy farmer dodges prison after reaping in fortune, mistreating animals, and selling sick dogs to the Scots. And their name was Stephen and Rachel Hamilton, apparently. And they made a lot of money out of selling sick dogs to people. But they didn't get a custodial sentence. Way it goes, I'm afraid. Right. Next up, the Times. Let's get Times up. What did the Times tell us this morning? Labour's fear stumbling to third and by-election. And this is poor polling, because Burnham's no stunning. The polling was showing if Burnham stood, they would have took that seat. But poor polling in the Gorton and Denton by-election says it's going to be a fight between the Greens and the Form, with Labour potentially coming third in that by-election. Not looking good for Mr. Starmer, is it? His jacket's definitely on a sugary peg. Right, we'll get rid of the Times. Next up should be the Eye. What's the Eye go for us this morning? This one's interesting, because it tells you how sick the Tories are. You know, they've attacked Suella Braverman on her mental health because she defected to the Form. That's about as low as it goes. But we're used to Tories being lower than snakes' bellies. Unfortunately for us, Farage has found a way to go even lower than that. But to question her mental health because she decided that she was switching party, I don't think it's very fair. Honest, Larry. But it tells you what sort of people the Tories are. Right, after the I, we have the Guardian. Let's see what the Guardian's got for us today. Tories face backlash after mental health jibe over Braverman's exit. And as I say, that's just Tories for you. They're already lower than a snake's belly. But when it comes to Badenoch, when we've seen her performance as Home Secretary, it's reasonable to assume she's pretty well off her rocker. That is a reasonable assumption that she's off her rocker. But for the Tories to point it out, they're all off their rockers. Anyway, doing with the Guardian. I think it's the Scot. No, we'll get the National next. And what has the National got for us this morning? Well, we'll start off with the nonsense for wee Dougie Alexander. Burnham blocked from by-elections so we can fight the SNP. A lot of pish. A lot of pish. Comment, why remembering the Holocaust is a powerful tool against far right? Suppose it is. And Labour are slated for silence over ICE shootings. Now, apparently none of the ministers doing that road in Westminster have condemned the shooting of a couple of civilians by ICE agents. And I was thinking about it, and I thought, well, what are they going to say? It's happening elsewhere. But more importantly, with Starmer in government and the UK vulnerable, it would appear they're keeping stum on many things. On many things. Just as if they don't exist on the world stage at this point in time. Right, now after the National, we'll get Scum. And what's the Scum go for us today? Well, the Scum tells us 1 week after Brooklyn's blast, Beckham stepped out in show of unity, or solidarity, sorry. Clan united. Well, the Clan can't be united because Brooklyn's no there. But we're a lot of nonsense. Who cares? Right, after that, we'll get the Express. This one was interesting this morning. I'll put it up. Now, the Express has Eva calls on Holocaust Memorial Day. Now stop the hate, being the main headline. And it says, despite being born to a skeletal mother in a concentration camp and having 15 of her family murdered by the Nazis, Eva Clark, 80 years old, is still hopeful for a better future if we can stand up to prejudice and tackle rising anti-Semitism. Well, I don't know anything about anti-Semitism. I don't know anything about bigotry, full stop, because I'm not a religious man. And I don't know if there's any Jewish people in the community, but how would we know they were Jewish unless they were wearing their wee hats? No, what I will agree with is if we could end prejudice, obviously things would be better. So I can agree with the lady there and curtailing anti-Semitism. Of course, I agree with that because, I mean, for all I don't know anything about it, you shouldn't hate anybody, right? What does I say? Thank you very much, Scott. And it says, hopefully the SNP will put up billboard posters explaining what will be lost with reformed tax cuts. Well, to be fair, Scott, we don't know what would be lost because, like the Tories, they haven't costed these cuts. So we really don't know. We're speculating on what it would be. As I say, my money is on services for the young and the elders first, and then working their way through the spectrum. Rising anti-Semitism is Israel's fault. Zionism is encouraging anti-Semitism because they are committing atrocities in the name of Judaism. Very true. Very true. Right, it's to say, but it's an interesting headline. If we could just stop prejudice and hate, it'd be a better world. And here's an 80-year-old lady who's went through all sorts as a child, still has hope. That's not a bad thing. Hope's never a bad thing. No, the usual sort of stuff for the Only Rag the Express. And after the Express, we have the Telegraph. What boring stories the Telegraph got for us this morning. China hacked phones in number 10. Guess we're fearing Reds under the beds right now. Anyway, apparently, in a 1-year spying mission, China hacked the phones of senior aides to Boris Johnson and to Rishi Sunak. Well, if they wanted any information from Boris Johnson, they only had to slip him a couple of quid, the way the Russians were. As to Sunak, that must have been a boring phone hack, that one. That's for sure. Yeah. Right, after the Telegraph, we'll get the Metro. The Metro's often, I don't know how to describe the Metro story this morning, actually. Human interest, or just of interest. Especially ex-footballers, it'll be of interest, but we'll put it up. And the Metro has headers likely led to McQueen's brain injury. Love of football killed our dad. Now, there's been more and more research into this stuff, especially rugby players and football players. Football players for heading the old leather boys, and rugby players for clashes on the field. And lo and behold, battering your head off a solid object isn't good for it. Who'd have guessed? Huh? Who'd have guessed that battering your head off a solid wall wouldn't be good for it? I guess the sort of numpties that stand up against brick walls and hammer it with their head. But love of football probably led to his brain damage through him being a big fella that headed the ball a lot. Well, one of the old leather footballs, especially when wet. It was a mighty blow to the napper, that's for sure. But who'd have thought that battering your head off a solid object was going to make you gaga? Or going to lead to a brain injury. Sometimes you just got to give your head a wobble, haven't you? You really have. Right, down with the Metro, which tells us something we all know since being a child. Don't bang your head off solid fucking objects. But I suppose it was a sport and a passion for Gordon. Right, that leaves us just the one. That leaves us a star. And this is a move along, nothing to see here story. And I mean it when I say that. So let's get the star up till we see this move along, nothing to see here story. And it is the Beckhams. Beckhams in Paris. You are my everything. The Beckhams show family unity in Paris. Who cares? Who gives a fuck? Move along. Who's interested in seeing a family air its dirty laundry in public? No interested. Move along. Don't give a fuck who you are. Whether you're a multi-millionaire ex-football star who's been knighted or no. Right, that's it for this morning. Young Reagan a Week goes live in roughly 10 minutes. So I've fired through this today because apart from the Herald and the Scotsman promoting Deform UK this morning, there was nothing actually worth talking about in the papers. Nothing. So you lot look after yourself. I'll be back tomorrow morning and hopefully there'll be something in the rags that we can get a rant at, because so far it's been pathetic. Have a nice day.